I'm here at IAA 2025, aka the Munich Auto Show, taking a look at what's next in transportation technology from around the globe. Now there's a lot to see here at this show, from micromobility to megamobility, a lot of which isn't necessarily relevant to the United States. So with that in mind, I've sifted through the noise to find all of the coolest concept cars, debuts, and new technologies here at the Munich Auto Show that are relevant to you. Let's check it out. Okay, so the show's in Munich, so of course the German automakers are abusing their home team advantage with some big debuts and news. Let's start with one of the most visually interesting concepts at the show, Audi's Concept C. This electric, roughly Audi R8 sized and proportioned roadster is primarily a preview of the automaker's future design ethos, which it calls radical simplicity. This is a return to the Bauhaus-esque Audi minimalism that I loved in the late 90s. Up front, the vertical frame grille blends inspiration from the 1939 Auto Union Type C with the brand's more modern aesthetic elements like the floating four rings and the quad element LED headlamps. In this titanium paint with its louvered backlight and the total lack of rear side windows, the concept looks like it was machined from a solid block of aluminum. Inside, the cabin continues with the minimalist theme, with a focus on high-quality materials and tactile controls rather than big screens. In fact, the center screen hides away when you're not using it, leaving you with a simple, understated, and driving-focused cockpit. Now, Audi isn't talking performance yet. We do know it's a rear-driven EV with a center-position battery, and that dual-motor quattro all-wheel drive is definitely a possibility. But I'm told that we should expect a production car that looks around 97% accurate to this, likely in 2027. R8 e-tron, anyone? Meanwhile, Audi's VW Group cousins at Porsche have announced what basically amounts to MagSafe for your car. The brand will be the first to market with its Porsche wireless charging floor plate, launching with the Cayenne Electric first in Europe in 2026, with America coming sometime thereafter. This flat 30 by 46 inch box is less than 2.5 inches thick, but it integrates all the charging hardware needed to send up to 11 kilowatts of inductive power to the Cayenne park to top. That's an amount of juice that's on par with an average level 2 home EV charger, so good enough to top off the electric SUV when parked overnight in your garage or driveway. The Cayenne even features a special view on its surround view camera to help drivers get lined up, and it'll automatically lower its suspension to get closer to the pad for the most efficient charging, ensuring that a claimed 90% of power coming out of the wall makes its way into the Porsche's battery. Impressive, if true. And speaking of charging, over at the Mercedes booth, the automaker once again showed off its concept AMG GT XX concept, adding a new feather to the Supersport EV's cap with a demonstration of Megawatt charging. Now, today's fastest charging EVs typically top out well below 350 kilowatt charging speeds, but AMG was able to ramp up to over 1,000 kilowatts with a peak charging rate of 1,014 kilowatts thanks to the use of a special prototype charging station, a liquid-cooled charging cable, and the EV's ridiculously robust onboard thermal management systems. Caveat, it was only able to sustain that rate for around 2.5 minutes. But in that time, it gobbled down over 17 kilowatt hours. That's a fairly giant leap toward the future where EVs are as fast to fill up as combustion cars. Mercedes also debuted a more practical 2027 GLC with EQ technology, a small luxury electric SUV built on the same platform and technology that underpins the CLA sedan that we saw and drove earlier this year. Now, so far, I've been very impressed with this generation of Mercedes EVs, so I've got high hopes for this one. European estimated 400 miles of range from its 94 kilowatt hour battery, up to 483 horsepower with available rear wheel steering, 330 kilowatt DC fast charging, adding 188 miles with just a 10-minute pit stop. And it looks a treat, both inside and out. Actually, inside is where you'll see the biggest evolutions over the CLA, starting with the Sky Control panoramic roof with its Sweet Star details, and wowing with its MBUX hyperscreen. This newest generation 39.1-inch hyperscreen stretches from pillar to pillar with seamless transitions between the driver information, main infotainment, and passenger zones, putting on an amazing show when parked with its customizable themes and animations, and presenting a large amount of information in a hopefully less distracting manner while on the road, thanks to one of the best automotive AI voice assistants I've ever had the pleasure of using. The 2027 GLC with EQ Tech is set to arrive soon, which I take to mean the middle of next year. Pricing and specifics should precede that arrival. Now, speaking of practical small electric SUVs, BMW's Neue Klasse next generation of electric vehicles is finally here with the debut of the iX50 xDrive. The SUV's front end evolves the fascia found on the iX in a very good way, I think, and while it's probably not going to be my favorite electric SUV in this class aesthetically, I think that BMW's design language is finally coming together in a way that I actually understand. Propulsion is provided by an 800-volt electric architecture with up to 463 horsepower. It'll do up to 400 miles of estimated range for the iX350 xDrive, dropping first in 2026 for under $60,000. That'll drop to around 300 miles for the iX340 xDrive, which arrives later in 2027 for under $55K. With up to 400 kilowatt DC charging, BMW claims you'll get around 230 miles of range with just a 10-minute session, though good luck finding a charger that can sustain 400 kilowatts anywhere in the States. Inside, we have the infotainment suite that we saw previewed at CES 2025 earlier this year, now in production, guys, and I'm pleased to see that the parallelogram display is still in full effect, along with the panoramic display along the base of the windshield. Now, I'll be looking forward to pitting this against Benz's GLC and Audi's Q6 e-tron sometime next year. So there you have it, a fast-paced look at everything cool, new, and relevant to you at the 2025 Munich Auto Show. Be sure to head over to CNET.com, where I've got even deeper looks at some of the most interesting cars, concepts, and technologies that debuted here at the show. And if you've got questions about any of the cars you've seen today, or any car technology in general, be sure to ask it down in the comments, and I'll try to answer it on a future episode. Drive safe, and I'll see you next time.